Hey guys, Roxbox90 here with the hopefully last section about discussing lands in EDH. So we talked about filter lands, shock lands, fetch lands, cycle lands, dual and tri-colored lands, and even five color generator lands that it produces one of any color. Depending, of course, in EDH that can be anywhere from 1 to 5 colors. Although usually 1, 2, 3, 5. So the last section we're going to talk about in lands as a specific topic and foundation is going to be non-basic utility lands. That's the only, I guess, word I can think of them. They are a lot harder to put your finger down on what exactly makes them utility land. They're not necessarily generating mana so much. You're kind of using them for alternate abilities, whatever those abilities may be. So I'm going to give you a very small smattering of them. But they pretty much encompass any land that's not giving you color or getting you lands. These kind of encompass the rest. Lands that do other stuff. So this is just a couple of the lands. There are a lot more. I'll try to maybe mention more of them. And many of them will be in the list that, as I said in the other videos, will be in the description. So let's get into it. What are the lands? So I just mentioned over here, these are specific colors, I suppose, but you have lands that do alternate stuff. So you have here, you have the hideaway lands that when they are one for each color. When they come into play, you look at the top 4 cards, put one of them under it, and then exile that nobody sees. And then you tap it based on, you can only do it if you have something. If you have a certain number of creatures, a creature with a certain power, but then you can play that card under it for 1 cost. So those are pretty nice depending on the colors you're running and how effective they are. So the Mossor Bridge, for example, is if you have a creature of power 10 or greater. So in a deck that has those sort of creatures, it's a deck you want to run it in. Then you have a card like Bojuka Bog that is a regular land that just does something useful. It's kind of like it's the World Wake lands, I guess is what I would call them. The Zendikar uncommon dual lands are pretty cheap, and these are kind of an extension of them because they don't give you one of each color, but when they come into play tapped, and they come into play and they do something. So Bojuka Bog exiles target player's graveyard, and then there's Sajiri's Step that gives a creature protection from a color. Those you kind of want to use to do something. They're 1 color, so they're technically in place of a basic land, in theory, but they do something, and that's kind of why you want them. And then you have cards that give you mana production and do something, or can do something consistently. So like this one, you have Auron Reef, the Vastwood, comes into play tapped. Tap it for a green mana, or tap it to put a 1/1 counter on a green creature entering the battlefield this turn. So you have an option, you can do multiple things. And those are all color utility lands, that they give you a certain color. Then we have just a handful of the colorless ones. So you have, here on this side, you have Strip Mine and Temple of the False God. Strip Mine is just one of the many land destruction lands. So in this case, Strip Mine taps for a colorless, or you can tap it, sacrifice it to destroy a target land. So it can be very useful to have if someone else has a utility land you want to get rid of. Such as Temple of the False God, which is basically Soul Ring on a land as long as you have 4 other lands and itself in play. Then you tap it for 2 colorless. So if let's say they have that, and they have it's an accelerated mana curve, because turn 5 you have 6 mana, then you Strip Mine their Temple of the False God, and you're in good shape. But of course, you really want it for decks that run infinite combos through lands, or that run powerful lands, or even lands that just generate a lot of their colors. If you remove one of their important ones with Strip Mine, then they go away. So you have other cards. You have Wasteland, which destroys a non-basic land instead of any land. Then you have Ghost Quarter, non-basic, which destroys non-basic as well. You have Tectonic Edge. You have a number of different versions of land destruction. Like Dust Bowl, I think, is a good one too. It's a little more expensive though. Then you have like mana generator lands like this one that just kind of accelerates mana, does something really nice for you. So I mean, maybe not land cards, but it's kind of like a version of Gilded Lotus and Coalition Relic that are pretty useful artifacts that give you or Thran Dynamo, things that give you accelerated colorless mana. So this is a land version of that. Then, and you'll see it a lot in EDH. It's very common. Then you have protection lands, as they're kind of like the man lands. In this case, we're talking about Mystifying Maze, and which is a tap 4, tap it, exile an attacking creature, and put it back into your opponent controls, and put it back into play afterwards. So if someone's attacking you with a creature, you want to put it away. That's what this land's alternate, and it taps for a colorless. So you have other lands like it. You have Core Haven, which prevents damage dealt by a single creature. You have ones like Maze of Ith, which is a very high-end, expensive card, but it's really powerful. It basically does something like this, but it's free. You just tap the land. So it's almost a staple for high-budget decks. I don't have one, but you can run it if you have a high budget, and it's a very nice protection. Then you have lands that just have alternate abilities. So like these are kind of like the other mana ones, but they generate a colorless, and then it costs color to do something. So Nephalia Drownyard mills cards, and there's a gazillion of these lands from all over, from Alara Block, from Ravnica, all over that do this, that give you a colorless, and then you can tap certain colors to do something. Lots of alternate ones. You can find them in the link below, I'm sure. Then you have a card like Bojiju Shelters All, which is a legendary land, comes to play tapped. You tap it, you pay life, and it gives you one colorless that if you put that into an instant or sorcery spell, that can't be countered. In EDH, this is a really nice card because for larger cards like Genesis Wave that you want to have go off for a lot of mana, it prevents them. Certain counter spells like Dissipate, if you're trying to counter their counter spell to stop them from winning the game, they can often counter your counter spell, so this prevents them from doing that. And the 2 life cost doesn't mean very much in EDH, so that's also another nice pick. These are just fairly staple random cards, and I just want to kind of give you a smattering of the options that are out there that you can consider. And this is very common in EDH, is a Reliquary Tower. You have no maximum hand size, and it taps for a colorless. So in EDH, where you're really trying to draw a lot of cards, or you're trying to have large hands, particularly in decks that run Control or Burn or a number of different play styles that require you to have larger hands, then it's a really nice card to have. So that, I mean, it pretty much explains itself. And there are a million more of these sort of staple utility lands that are out there. I will hopefully you can find them more on your own. I'll try to put this search engine where you put in the colors of your deck and it finds you all the lands, so you can find lands. It'll include usually some of the standard colorless utility lands. And so that kind of is the overall discussion of lands in EDH, land bases. I kind of gave an idea earlier of the layout of how many you want in your deck. I really can't give you a specific of which ones, like how many of each one you want in the deck. Because you might only have 1 filter land, you might only have 2 fetches, 3 fetches. You kind of have to figure that on your own. I would just go pick the basic land layout and then start picking away from the basic lands and replacing them with non-basic lands that would suit your deck. And go from there. And of course, if you have any questions, you can PM me, comment below, ask other players who play EDH. EDH players as a whole tend to be very, very nice and open and want to help everybody who's new to it, because it's a fairly open, fun, casual format that has lots of great people playing it. So feel free to ask around for help, and of course I'm here continuing my series. And if you're liking it so far, you want to keep following, feel free to subscribe up here to see the pretty consistent videos that I hope to put out. You can click up here for the playlist that will give you all the videos in the series so far. And if you just want to continue next, then hopefully this is an older video, at least there'll be a next over here or a previous over here. So thanks for watching, guys. Rate, comment, and PM me. Thanks.